We continue to follow the U.S. airstrikes in Syria this morning, hearing reactions from locals and national leaders. And dozens were evacuated and 4 were injured in a gas fire in Alexandria. Now police are saying alcohol was involved in the crash that started the fire. 6 homicides over the past week after nearly 3 weeks with no deaths in Indianapolis area. We have the details.
Now, live from Wish TV, this is 24-Hour News 8's Daybreak.
Good morning to you. I'm Joe Melillo. Thanks for joining us on Daybreak. It's Saturday, April 8th, and we want to get right to those top stories. But, of course, we need to get to weather first, and it's all good news, Marcus. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, most definitely. Hey, good to see you here this morning, Joe, on this Saturday where temperatures are chilly to start things off. No doubt about it. You're going to need the coat as you step outside. Hang in there, though, because as we get later into this afternoon, we're going to have a big jump in temperatures. Really an ideal weekend across central Indiana. We're at 35 right now in Eagle Creek. Up in Broad Ripple, you're at 31. Still holding at 29 in Fishers, 31 in Noblesville, and 29 in Anderson. Up to 35 in Muncie. You're up 2 degrees in the last hour in Lafayette at 33. Still holding at 30 in Bloomington and Columbus. So there's still a few areas that are below freezing. Not much in the way of cloud cover, just some decorative clouds that are now kind of dotting the sky. That's going to be the theme for the day today. A lot of dry air in place means tons of sunshine. And with a wind coming out of the south and southwest later on this afternoon, those temperatures are going to move in a hurry. 35 right now in Indianapolis, off a southwest wind at 3. And those winds will continue to pump in warmer air as we get deeper on into the afternoon. In fact, by around lunchtime, we're already up to 56. We'll finish the day off into the low 60s. Average high for this time of year is 61. So we're right there, and we're even warmer as we start rolling into your Sunday. So that's some good news. 63 in Kokomo, 62 in Muncie, 65 for a high in Shelbyville, 67 in Terre Haute, Bloomington, and down in Bedford. You'll notice the winds picking up a little bit as we get deeper on into the afternoon. Just the beginning of a big warm-up. We were much cooler, obviously, Thursday and Friday. We finished the weekend off with maybe some of the warmest temperatures that we've seen so far this year. On top of that, it's going to be a bit breezy as we roll through the end of your weekend. We're also tracking when the storms return to central Indiana. I'll have the timing in my 8-day forecast. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
Tonight I ordered a targeted military strike on the airfield in Syria from where the chemical attack was launched.
The world is responding to President Donald Trump's order to launch a missile attack against Syria. The order was carried out Thursday night when the U.S. dropped 59 Tomahawk missiles on the Syrian airbase. It was the first U.S. military action against the Syrian government. And the civil war in Syria began 6 years ago in 2011. Since then, an estimated 400,000 Syrians have been killed, according to the United Nations. More than 5 million Syrians have fled the country. Another 6 million people are displaced internally, according to the UN agencies. And there are 4 main factions of the fighting groups throughout the country: Kurdish forces, ISIS, other opposition, and the Assad regime. And we continue to hear from Indiana lawmakers on the U.S. actions in Syria. U.S. Senator Joe Donnelly released a statement yesterday saying last night's missile strike was an appropriate response and sends a clear message that the use of chemical weapons on innocent people will not be tolerated. Senator Donnelly added, before any further escalation, President Trump and leaders at the Pentagon need to come to Congress with a clear strategy for the path forward. Senator Todd Young also released a statement yesterday saying, I am confident that the president will continue to receive sound advice from his impressive national security team. Following these strikes, the administration should submit to Congress without delay a comprehensive whole of government strategy working with our international partners. And we're also hearing reactions from locals on the U.S. strikes in Syria. Some say they're glad the president took action, while others fear this will only make the situation worse. We spoke to people here in town that live here and those who actually have family in Syria. Here's what they had to say.
I'm glad he did it. You know, somebody needed to do something. I'm glad he did.
I truly believe that the president made the right decision and that we all need to support him.
Violence will not, lead to peace. Basically, I think it's better to try a political or a more peaceful solution for this. This probably is going to agitate it. It's not going to stop it by any means.
And there was one common theme with everyone we spoke to yesterday. They hope the strikes don't lead to more violence. In Madison County, a toddler is still in serious condition after a crash on Thursday in Alexandria that ruptured a gas line, started a fire, and forced people from their homes. Officials say alcohol was a factor. It happened on Washington Street near State Road 9 around 10:30 on Thursday night. Police say 25-year-old Cody Vaughn crashed a car into a house, and they say he was driving on a suspended license. Another 25-year-old, a 4-year-old, and that 2-year-old were in a car with Vaughn. Police say Vaughn is in serious condition and in the hospital, so is that 2-year-old. Most families are back in their homes after being evacuated. Todd Welcher was out of town when the car slammed into his bedroom.
I've slept in the bedroom before, so it's a good thing I wasn't here. So I would have been part of the casualty if I was.
For now, the family is living in another home, but Welcher plans to rebuild as soon as possible. Police say the 4-year-old in the car was treated and then released from the hospital, and the sheriff says Vaughn may face charges later. After nearly 3 weeks with no homicides, this week was a very different week, in fact violent, here in Indianapolis. There were 6 homicides in the last 7 days. The spree started last Friday when Vincent Lanking was murdered in a Budget 8 Inn on the east side. Police charged his girlfriend with the murder. Later that day, Darius Mack was shot and killed on the west side. Police have not arrested anyone for that crime. And Monday, Lonisha Wellington and her husband were shot in a northeast side apartment building. She later died from her injuries. Police have not released suspect information there. And on Thursday, police say a family dispute was the cause of the deaths of Philip McBrady and Brandon Miller. And finally, yesterday, 28-year-old Terrence Hill was killed in a Southside apartment. His body was found, and police are still trying to figure out how and why he died. And we may be getting answers to one of those incidents. Police have arrested someone in the double homicide investigation from Thursday. 51-year-old Eldridge Moore faces preliminary charge of murder. 2 men, 29-year-old Brandon Miller and 65-year-old Philip McBrady, were found dead yesterday in their home on Richard Avenue, and they were apparently shot. Witnesses told police a fight broke out between family members and that someone pulled out a gun and started shooting. Also in Crime Watch 8, a man in Kokomo is in custody for crimes against the local police department. Police say they were notified about alleged threats made against them. This man, Christopher Sutton, in Rushville, he's accused of encouraging his friends to quote-unquote booby trap their yards to intentionally injure officers. He singled out one specific officer, and police say their investigation led them to discover Sutton had been stalking that officer since 2014. A warrant was issued for his arrest. Sutton turned himself in and now faces charges of stalking, intimidation, and harassment. More local news this morning. H.H. Gregg says it will now be closing all of its stores. The Indianapolis-based appliance and electronics store announced last month it was filing for bankruptcy, and at that point it said dozens would close, dozens of stores would close, but now the company is saying all of them will after an agreement with a buyer fell through. H.H. Gregg has been in business since 1955 and at one point had 220 stores in 19 states. Happening today, a Northside Catholic church is reopening a year and a half after an electrical fire destroyed part of it. 24-hour News 8's Brittany Lewis is live at St. Monica near 62nd in Michigan, where volunteers are getting everything ready. Good morning to you, Brittany.
Good morning, yeah, and look at all of these volunteers. They just got here a few minutes ago. And where we are right now, we are actually in the school gym, and this is where the church has been having mass for about a year and a half now since that fire. As you can see, the people right now, what they are doing is reupholstering the chairs. So these chairs actually made it through the fire, but they want to switch it up for the brand new church that they are preparing for the first mass since that big fire. It was back in September 2015 that an electrical fire burned part of the church, and then there was obviously some significant smoke and water damage. Church leaders say repairs and renovations cost about $4 million. Insurance covered about half, and then people here in the community and in the church community donated the rest, so about $2 million from the church and community members. With me right now is Mel Ulrich with the church. What was it like to have that much community support while you were going through this?
It was amazing. I mean, our very first, the morning of the fire, volunteers just started picking things up and moving things to the gym so that we could have mass by 8 o'clock in the morning. So we never really missed a beat thanks to the people that are, call St. Monica home.
Well, and you can see just how much support you have when you look around here. What has the last year and a half been like for you here at the church?
I think it's been an opportunity to really pull our community together. I think the fire was devastating, and it's just like, if you had a fire in your home, it's kind of hard to accept, but people just, again, right from the get-go, just started picking up and, donated things like, our altar. We had a parishioner put this temporary altar together so that we had a beautiful place to worship in the gym. And people they were very flexible and just right away started doing whatever they could to make it a prayerful, and wonderful space.
What will it mean to you to have that first Mass in the new church tonight?
It will mean so much. Easter in general is a time for hope and resurrection and promise, and so I think that's what it's been to St. Monica, is that we've all kind of banded together for the last 18 months. And now we're kind of coming together, for a new beginning for our church. So I think everyone is very excited about that. And as much as this has become a prayerful place for us, I think everybody's excited about getting back into the church.
Yeah, we're also happy for you. And that's tonight at 5. So what's crazy, Joe, is that they have about 3,200 families that come to this church. So because they've had to be in this gym for the last year and a half, they have had 7 masses total every single weekend. So they're looking forward to getting into this new church.
A lot more space, and it'll be good to actually get those seats all upholstered too. So good story, Brittany. Thank you very much. Also happening today, thousands of people will take to downtown streets to win one more practice run before the 500 Festival Mini Marathon next month. Now, the 500 Festival 10-miler will begin in just a few minutes, and it's actually started at 8 o'clock, so a few minutes ago. And the 500 Festival Miler series, if you live downtown or are thinking of driving near downtown, you might want to head to wishtv.com to look up those street closings for this morning. We also have some information about the race and the upcoming